Welcome to season 2, new season, new name, the Ingenium Books Podcast.
We're so excited to be rejuvenating the podcast and starting a new season.
Yeah, we took a little bit of a break, like a year or so, as we reevaluated our priorities and dug deep into what the business reasons were, which is, all part of being a publisher and figuring out how to get your message out and who you want to get it out to. Anyway, before we dig in, welcome to season 2, of course. Just a quick little connection. The season 1 of our podcast was called the Empowered Author Podcast. We have 52 episodes. We love those episodes. We had some great feedback. We had some great conversations with some great guests. One of the reasons we've changed our name, there's 2 reasons actually. One is, after we chose the name, we discovered that there were 2 other podcasts with the same or a similar name. And at first, we didn't really know how big a deal that was going to be. When we were researching and choosing the name, we didn't find any evidence of another podcast with the same name. But once we were in 20 episodes or so, we discovered that. So we wanted to have a name that was, uniquely ours, and so it's the Ingenium Books Podcast.
Yeah, simple, clean.
Yeah, very clear. And so the focus where we were talking in season 1, those first 52 episodes, focusing pretty explicitly on issues of importance to authors, hence the word author in the title, we're shifting the focus a little bit to talk about authors, publishers, and changemakers. And that is a nod to the kinds of stories that we publish at Ingenium Books. From the homepage of our website, we publish stories that awe, inspire, enlighten, and challenge, that show us how to transform our relationships, bodies, health, finances, businesses, or ourselves. We publish stories that build trust in the universe, that demonstrate our innate resilience, and that prompt us to rethink what's possible. Hence the changemaker part of the subtitle of the podcast. So I'm kind of excited. How about you?
Oh, very, very excited. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we will have all kinds of cool topics coming up for our future weekly episodes, and topics of relevance, whether you're an author, whether you're a publisher, whether you're an author-publisher, a publisher who's also an author, and that changemaker piece, as we talked about. We're going to be talking about film and TV licensing. We're going to be talking about music tracks in audiobooks, which is something that John's working hard on. We're excited to share some of those things with you. Information and discussion about the publishing business, trends, things that are changing, challenges.
Artificial intelligence,
AI, yeah, and marketing, and of course writing craft, and all of those things. All those things that are relevant, and we're planning to have a bit of a rhythm. So we'll do a writing focus and a creation focus on one episode, and then we'll move into a publishing focus, and then we'll move into the changemaker focus. Sorry, my hand hit the microphone there. And we'll just see how that rolls out. But every week, so we're looking forward to it. Thanks for joining us. But this episode, kicking off season 2,
is going to be about our recent visit to San Diego at the IBPA University Conference, IBPA being the Independent Book Publishers Association, of which we are a member. And we learned a ton about running our business, the publishing industry, new trends in the publishing industry. We learned a lot about what other people are doing, and how, what we're doing is pretty much the same what they're doing too, as hybrid publishers. So we're happy to talk about some of the things that we learned.
Yeah. So Independent Book Publishers Association, or IBPA, their Publishing University 2023. They have one of these conferences every year. I can't remember I think they held them virtually during the heydays of the pandemic. And we've been members of IBPA for, 6 or 7 years now. And we've made plans a couple of times to go to the conference. One of those times was right when COVID hit. And it was like, I guess we're not going this year. So this is the first time that we've made it to the conference, and it will not be the last. It was really a great experience. So, we wanted to talk about some of the things that we heard, and share with you some of those things. And I guess one of the things that stuck out to me that I heard in one of the keynotes was the future of publishing is independent. Did that strike you?
Yeah, it was. And it was actually rather good to hear, because that's kind of where we are going and have been.
Well, we are independent.
We are independent, but that's where we have been. And it just supports the whole notion of newness, creativity. There was a lot of talk about the big five being the big five publishers who have different models than independent publishers do. And or hybrid publishers. So that was all pretty interesting to learn about. Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting to hear, I might have even been in that same keynote. I can't remember exactly where I heard it, but where there was a very clear articulation of what the word independent means when we're talking about independent publishers, independent authors. So, and one of our authors asked us recently what this was. And so they described, whoever it was, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was to give appropriate credit, but they described an independent author or an independent publisher as meaning that the author in an independent relationship has some skin in the publishing game. And they also equated it to, and this made a lot more sense, and I don't know why I had never thought of it this way, but they equated it to, if you talk about you're an indie filmmaker, or you're an indie musician, we have a pretty good idea that that's what that means, that the creator, so whether you're a musician or a film producer or writer or author, has some skin in the game in one way, shape, or form. You're out there actively fundraising or in some way supporting the creation of your
creativity. It's what you might be doing with your marketing. It's bringing the idea to fruition. It's it's all of that.
And that does differ from the traditional model where the author does not have skin in the game. And we would just say the author also does not usually have creative control. They give up a lot of rights, and they give up a lot of their potential for royalties on the other end. Not that there's a right or a wrong. There's a publishing model out there for everybody, and not the right. There's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. What was something else that stood out for you?
Well, I just wanted to kind of add something to that. As an independent publisher or an author who is publishing your own books, therefore an independent publisher, and we had a podcast about this last year, at least one, you're running a business.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that we delved into on day one, in fact, or before the conference started, was a lot about what it takes to run a successful business as an independent publisher, whether you're an author with one book, an author with a series of books, a hybrid publisher like us running with many, many authors and many books. There was, we're all running businesses, small businesses.
Yeah, that was it was a 4-hour session, one of the pre-conference sessions, and it was really interesting to hear some of the things. I found it very validating to we're having other people are having the same challenge that we are. For example, there's lots of talk, both in that session and elsewhere around the conference, about how publishing is a very low margin business.
Yeah, we're not always or necessarily in this business solely for making lots and lots of money.
In fact, you can't, not even solely. That's not going to happen in this business.
So that brings to light, when you're running your business, and us as well, of course, what's driving that? And the word passion comes up. And you need to have a passion for what you're doing that is going to be leading and driving that business. I think. And, that was a pretty important point that was made.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're not in it for money, then what are you in it for? And if you don't have a passion for whatever part of the process, whatever part of the business brings you that energy from the passion, there's all kinds of different passions that people can have. But it really is about being passionate about some element of that. And it fit for us. I thought it was kind of interesting. Of course, they talked about mission and vision and that sort of thing. And we have a purpose statement and a set of core values. And they're talking at first, and I'm like, oh, we don't really have a mission statement. And then the more they talked about it, yes, we do. Yeah. Our purpose statement is breathing life into ideas, so it's a purpose statement, which feeds directly into our passion, so the whole notion of ideas and breathing life into them, helping authors see what's possible with their ideas. So we're breathing life into our own ideas, but also helping authors by breathing life into their ideas, helping them get out into the world. Yeah. And our core values, like the passions, they're, number 4 on our list of core values. And you can see our core values on our website. And we have a cool little video that I actually love that talks about our core values. But number 4 is passion for creative expression. Yeah. So
a very cute little girl on that.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So one other thing that I didn't hear this in the publishing, in the business of the business session, or maybe I did, I can't remember, but I thought it was interesting that historically, reaching readers has never been the domain of the publisher. Mm-hmm. So there's, how many times have we had conversations with authors as we explore whether their submission is going to be right for us and whether we're going to be right for their book, where the question is, well, so, do you do any marketing? And we actually do a lot of marketing around the author and their book. But to hear that stated and to hear examples from other very successful hybrid publishers that do not do author or book marketing, they focus exclusively on
their brand and their company,
marketing their own brand and their company, and obviously the fact that they are publishing these books. So it's not that the books have no visibility, but that it's a very different way to think about that. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just that we have been investing a lot of time and money into supporting authors and helping authors with that marketing piece. And frankly, not doing a whole bunch about marketing our own brand. So one of the things that we're going to be taking a look at in the next, few months as we continue to develop our 3 to 5 year business plan.
And that underlines the importance of the author being involved, engaged mm-hmm. in every aspect of the book production and marketing, but especially in the marketing. Somebody said at the conference, okay, your book is now edited and the manuscript is all ready to go and it's uploaded and it's ready with all the distributors. Now the hard work starts. And it's because we need to, all of us, including the author, and especially the author, needs to be very engaged in the exercise of getting their book in front of their readers, marketing.
Absolutely. And I know that I often say to authors when they ask us this question about how much marketing we do, is that I don't think I can think of a reader, and I think of myself as a reader too. I don't care who the publisher is. I read a good book. I don't go like, oh, who's the publisher? And go research the publisher. No, I go straight to who's the author. Does the author have a website? Where's the author engaging? Do they have a Facebook page? What are they saying? All of that, I read their bio. So readers, I think in general, and of course, there's always trouble when you generalize, but I think readers don't really care too much about who the publisher is. We as publishers care more about who a publisher is on a good book. We will go find, who did that one? But that's because that's part of our, competitive research, if you like. Yeah. I needed to go back to, I needed and wanted to go back to the discussion about margins in publishing, and one other thing that's related to that we heard that I think is important to talk about, and the publishers that are listening and watching this will be interested. Maybe will be interested in this, and that is the encouragement to make sure that even though margins are very tight, that it's important that you pay yourself and your team a living wage, and that was interesting to hear because something that we struggle with quite a bit. I would say.
And that's a general business notion, but the publishing industry, there are not, even the big five don't make huge margins on most of their titles, and then they've got one or two or three that are big hits, and that's where they make their money. It's kind of like the Christmas sale, right?
Yeah.
You make all your money at Christmas, but you need to be taking care of yourself, and you need to be taking care of your team, and you need to be taking care of the people who surround you, who help you to produce the books and write the books, whether you're independent as an author or a publisher.
Yeah, and so it's not uncommon, and we augment how we get paid out of the Ingenium Books business is very heavily subsidized by other sources of income that we have. And I think, we're very fortunate that we have those other sources of income, because our business probably would look very different today if we needed to rely. Well, and maybe it wouldn't. Maybe we would have made different decisions if we didn't do that. Anyway, really good food for thought, and again, something else to dig into as we continue to evolve. And then the notion of also paying your team a living wage, also really important, of course. And I know that we've had many discussions with ourselves. In business, there's a notion about it being wise business to collect fast and pay slow. So you want to have anybody that owes you money, you want to make sure that you're receiving it as quickly as possible. But if you have 30 days to pay a bill, you don't pay it until day 30. And with our team, we don't do that. Our team are also independent people. We've got some fantastic and experienced and talented and dedicated people who, have as much passion for what they do as we do. And we like to make sure that we get them paid quickly, because everybody's kind of waiting around for money. So not that that's, wise.
I got to go pay some bills.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I'll be right back. Not that that's wise from a business perspective, but that's what we've chosen to do.
What's next?
I'm looking at what's next. I wanted to talk about, I don't know, there, my screen is changing. We also attended a couple of sessions actually, related to film and TV licensing. And that's something that we're going to be talking more about on this podcast, because it's something that we are very purposefully digging into. And maybe before we do that, should we just quickly touch on what we heard about AI before we get into, because otherwise we and not that, like, we are not AI experts. I've dabbled with Chat GPT, and we use otter.ai to help us with transcripts. So it's, it's not foreign, but we're not aficionados by any stretch. But you had some more, you sat in on some more sessions about AI.
Yeah, so AI, artificial intelligence, is here. It's here to stay. It's been around for a long time. And there's lots of talk in the news recently, even in the last week or so, of one of the AI gurus from Google who has left.
Saying it's going to be the end of humanity or whatever.
Yeah, so nothing to be afraid of. But
I'm afraid of the end of humanity.
But for AI. But we've got a lot everyone's got a lot to learn, even the people who are creating the AI. And we know that there are going to be some benefits that we as humans, as publishers, as writers, can benefit from, and we know there's going to be a downside, and we don't know totally what that impact is going to be. We learned a bit about a tool, a small little AI tool related to audiobooks, that listens to your audiobook and says, "Hey, this gap is too long," or there's
a mic pop there.
There's a mic pop there. So that's good.
Generates your list of pickups.
It reduces one of the listen backs that I've got to do of a 4 or 5 or a 10-hour audiobook. But so that's a good thing. So we're still learning a lot about it. We have our eyes open to it, and we are following it closely, because we certainly want to be in the know and share everything that we learn about that with you through these podcasts and other means.
Yeah, there's, I have my own concerns about copyright issues and authenticity issues, and not having our work stolen, or, all of those kinds of issues. But somebody said, we had the same conversations when the internet came about, and we had the same conversations again when social media started to hit, and now we're having the same kind of conversation around AI, and the world didn't end.
No, but we need to be careful.
Yes.
And spam. What is spam all about? It's horrible, and hacking and all this kind of stuff. So we need to be in the know, and we plan to be in the know.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, and there was so much that there were sessions we attended. We broke up. We didn't break up. We're still together. But we looked at
attended separate sessions.
Yes, we attended separate sessions and came back together and compared notes so that we could, get as much information as we could. So we attended sessions on marketing and branding and supply chain issues. And there was a big focus as well on DEI, which was really, really good to hear.
What is DEI?
It's diversity.
No.
DEI. Oh my God! The I is inclusion, and I was the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah. And so lots of really inspiring people doing really great work in this area, and something else that we'll be looking at with respect to what it means for our business, and we certainly,
and the people we work with,
and so marketing and branding and all that kind of stuff. But let's talk about film and TV licensing.
Well, film and TV licensing, we've been actively pursuing this for the last year or so with at least one of our titles, and we've been learning a lot about it. And there were two sessions, one specific session and a follow-up session, I think, at the conference, which just was amazing. It was fun, and its focus actually was on how do you pitch to the executives who are going to say, yeah, we'll take your book, or no, we won't.
Yeah.
But it certainly validated the work that we've been doing with the Picture Wall, which is the title that we've been working on for the last year. And it gave us some new insights
to licensing,
with respect to TV and film or film licensing. And it has validated a lot of the work that we've done. It's encouraged us to do some more work in different areas to help move things forward.
Mm-hmm. And I think some of the things that I heard that were interesting, and not necessarily brand new stuff, but the number of award-winning TV series and films that are based on books. I can't remember the statistic, but it was a lot. We were just talking just before we started recording. Is it the majority, or is it just many? So we're just going to say many, because I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. And we know that, and it's the same thing that happened, in the early 2000s, might have even been the year 2000. I was in the newsroom in the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation in Vancouver, and we were having a meeting with all the reporters and the executives of the news team, and they were talking about what the internet was going to mean, and they were saying, content is king, where everybody's going to be looking for content. Well, it's the same thing happening now with all the streaming services, that there is a huge appetite for content for all of the videos and TV series that we're just gobbling up. I mean, how, you can sit down and speed through 3 or 4 episodes or watch an entire season in one sitting on a gloriously lazy Sunday afternoon. Oh, don't get me started. But so there is a demand for content. There are really good stories being told with books. And so why wouldn't we be looking to make that connection and, open the doors to what is possible for some of the books that we publish that we think have legs on screen. Yeah. And we have a lot of them.
And, it's just another amazing outlet to get the story in front of the right people. Our passion is to get those stories out there, and so many more people could benefit from the story that's being told, the message that's being conveyed through film and television.
Yeah, but it is a totally different way. You don't have the same. Obviously, we've got 50 or 80,000 words to show the arc of the character and the story arc, and to bring the reader, to immerse them in a different way into the story that we're telling, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. And on the screen, you don't have that. Yeah, it's very different. It's much more visual. So you have to be able to show. If it's a highly emotional story, you have to, before you're thinking about whether it will work on the screen. You have to think about, what is the viewer going to see? What is the setting? How is the story going to demonstrate that emotional quality when all we can see is the face of the character? So it really does take a different twist. Some of the other things that you need to think about is, where is the story told, and from the perspective of how many settings are there, and where are the settings. And so if you have, one of our books that we just love, and we looked into trying to explore a film and TV licensing opportunity for it, is Flying with Dad by Yvonne Caputo. We love the story of her father's experience training for and then becoming a navigator in B-24 bombers in the Second World War, and he got PTSD, and that impact on the family when he got back home, and the impact that had on her relationship with him her whole life. And right away it was like, oh, we have 11 different locations just in the States. Then we have locations in Europe. We have locations in the air, in an airplane. We have locations flying, doing bombing runs over the English Channel and over the European countryside. And we have, it was like, oh, that is a expensive, not impossible. It just becomes expensive. So it's one of those things to be aware of as you're trying to prepare your pitch. That's what the executives are going to be looking at. How much is it going to cost us to produce this thing?
Yeah.
And interestingly, the gentleman that was leading the workshop at IBPA this past weekend, as we're recording this, he was saying very few film and television shows actually make money. It's same as publishing. Very few actually make money, but it's the blockbusters that pay for everything else. And you never really know which one is going to go pop. Yeah. So yeah, they had this very cool contest. So the workshop was about developing your pitch. And then they had a contest over a luncheon where they had chosen 7 people, and they got up and did their pitch. It was really interesting. Some really good ones. Really good ones. So we have a very self-imposed limitation of keeping these podcasts to 30 minutes. So we're approaching that. We're going to honor that. But we'll be back every week, and we encourage you to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And we'd also love to hear from you. If there's something you'd like us to talk about, we'd love to hear. So feel free to drop us a note, a line, and we'll be making some noise and trying to tell people that season 2 is here. And we look forward to coming back.
Yeah. Well, welcome back to the Ingenium Books Podcast.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks.